I want to tell you about our amazing FLO team. Sorry, I was just getting a little bit emotional there. Our amazing FLO team and the real enhancement of patient care and experience that has come out of something that we developed during the COVID pandemic. We were wondering how we were going to keep in contact with patients' relatives, especially when we couldn't allow them into the hospital in the same way that we normally do, and involve them in care like we really want to all of the time. So we developed our Family Liaison Officers, and we took people who couldn't do their regular jobs because of the way that we were managing the hospital at the time, and we asked for volunteers and then we trained them. They are making our patients, giving them the ability to be in contact with relatives all over the world, helping them make decisions at difficult times. So please, can I introduce you to our FLO team?
I'm proud to be a FLO because it is an incredible service which is just full of love and compassion. I love that we can spend time and really care for the people. We can get to know them and we can be their friends.
As the first volunteer in this role, I remember my very first experience. I helped set up remotely Zoom and install Zoom for an elderly gentleman. His wife had been admitted into hospital and the thought of just seeing her was just unbelievable to him. We managed to get through all the technical challenges, bless him, and finally we got them both together on Zoom and it was just magical. They didn't actually have a lot to say to each other. His wife was quite weak anyway, but just to be able to see each other said so much more to them. It was really magical. They both lit up their faces when they saw each other. Doug later told me that he missed his wife so much that to see her was just magical.
What we do was probably summed up by a card I got from one of our patients who unfortunately passed away, where her daughters had said, "Thank you for being there for our mum when we couldn't be." And I really think that sums up what we do. You know, in times where patients who would normally be supported by their loved ones and have people there for them, you know, with them through what is undoubtedly a terrifying experience, and particularly in the circumstances we've had this last year, our whole job was to be there for those people. And I know that despite not being able to do anything with medication or to actually treat or cure people, I know that what we've done over the last year has made a massive difference to patients and their families.
I'd arranged an end-of-life Zoom call on Christmas Eve for a patient and his daughter who lived in Israel. Unfortunately, she couldn't travel to the UK due to foreign travel not being allowed. Sadly, on the day, a connection could not be made for technical reasons. However, on Christmas morning, I was able to make a Zoom call. To see the patient, his daughter and grandchildren engaging and the smiles on their faces brought a huge lump to my throat. It was the best present I could have received. More importantly, it gave the patient and the family the opportunity to say their goodbyes, something the daughter later thanked me for in a lovely email.
I'd like to tell you a story about a couple of my patients. There was an elderly lady who had dementia who kept on asking for her children. Spoke to the ward staff, they weren't aware of any living relatives, so I contacted the care home. Care home advised that they weren't aware of any living relatives either. It then turned out that in her room she had a book of photographs. As it turned out, I collected the photographs, took them into Peggy, and the look on her face when she saw them was a delight. Unfortunately, we don't know who those children are, but it doesn't really matter because Peggy knew who they were.
I feel very proud to be part of such a caring and empathetic team who generally want to make a difference to patients whilst they're in hospital. It's just those little things but really do make a big difference to the patients, and it's incredibly rewarding, and I'm so happy to be part of the team.
What makes me most proud to be a FLO is that I can see immediately what a difference I make to somebody's day, both our patient in the hospital and their family at home. I love when I see somebody's hand come up to the camera to touch the face of the person that they love, but they can't be with, and I that just makes my heart go. I think it's the most beautiful thing to see. And I think my most favourite thing of working with a patient was a patient who had a son in New Zealand, and his son was able to show him what he was doing in his life and where he lived and where he worked and all those sorts of things with the help of FaceTime. And the father would forget that his son could hear him, and he would touch me on the arm and say, "That's my son, I'm so proud of him."
I feel not only proud but privileged to be a FLO because I am able to make a real impact on the patient's experience of hospital life. I am so lucky to have the luxury of time to sit, listen, talk, reassure, laugh, and sometimes even shed a tear with a patient, which makes such a difference to them.
A moment that I feel I made a big difference was when I had a patient who was in end of life. I got to know him over a period of time. He had no family, no friends. I knew he liked 1920s, 1930s big band music because his radio was always tuned into a specific station. I went to see him one day. Someone had messed around with his machine, with his radio. So I asked him what he wanted to listen to. He couldn't speak, but I got him to write Glenn down. He managed to write Glenn on my notepad. So I took my phone out, I downloaded some Glenn Miller, I held his hand and I danced with him for about 20 minutes. He cried, he laughed, he had a lovely smile on his face, and he died about an hour later. And it's something that will live with me forever. I was very proud of myself to have been able to make that difference to him.
I'm proud of the FLO team because we make a difference every day.